Okay, that means I'm calling the meeting to order, and I've got everyone's attention. I am calling the meeting to order. It is 7 o'clock. Welcome, everyone. One of the first things we need to do is need a motion to allow Trustee O'Reilly to attend remotely.
Okay.
Moved by Trustee Borowski, seconded by Trustee Tanucci. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, you're in the meeting. All
Thank you.
rise for a pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We're not going to play ball tonight, but good idea. Would be nice. So we have the very first item on the agenda is the homeowners associations. Is Prairie Trails here, Mark?
Yeah.
Cheney? Oh, there you are.
Yeah,
Yep.
Mark couldn't make it, so Steve.
Steve, oh, that's right, yep.
He's traveling. So I do have his piece.
Do you have anything for us?
Oh, I do, yeah, I didn't know what the format of this was.
This is your time. This is your time to share with us,
Okay.
things that you want to share with the village.
So we actually took this seriously. They sent out a note to all our residents for questions. I guess got 5 brief questions. And for those of you who don't know, Prairie Trails, we're up in North Kruger, across from the fields, relatively newer, well, newer subdivision, 50 homes. So a couple things did come up, and whether you answer them here or later, that we will take it on to then send it back to the HOA, so you don't get a million phone calls on these random questions, right? I think that's probably the intent of you said less than that, right? So the first one, is there a thought, and I know this will come up before, on connecting walking trails through Long Grove? Some of our residents, know that some of the neighborhoods do, abut each other. Is there a thought on that? And especially to get to herons. So has there been a general conversation?
Well,
A specific one.
yeah, so I mean, there is actually a study in process
Okay.
to, put together a plan to potentially connect them in the future, right? Whether or not that happens,
Okay.
that's another story, but we're actually, Jeff, our engineer, has been contracted to do a study on that. And Trustee O'Connor has oversight on that as well, as that's one of her
Okay.
oversight areas is the pathways.
Well, Jeff, so we know each other from before, so if there's anything the HOA needs to do to give input or whatever, I mean, because we do have applicants in the HOA, and they could potentially connect, so that's question number one. Is there a timeline on that project and for the study?
No, it's still in its infancy stages.
Okay.
Gets rolled out, we'll know more.
Is that something Prairie Trails is interested in?
Yeah, it is, and it's simple. I mean, there's only one neighborhood we can potentially connect to, but then that can get us to the Herons Preserve, and so that's the interest.
Okay, to get to the forest preserve.
Yeah, and we do maintain our trails, so it's,
Sure.
right, and Fields does a great job on that, by the way, so.
Well, the only side comment on that is if Route 22 ever gets widened, there will be a trail down the side of Route 22.
Got it.
So you could get there from North Kruger from where you are, right?
All right. Second one, from the residents, was there any update? I mean, we haven't had robberies in a while, but is there any update on what the results of some of those robberies in the past? Because Lake County Sheriff, we invited them to our meeting, and at the time, they said they couldn't comment investigation. So.
They came here and did an annual report for us a few weeks back, right? Did a very thorough report. We can provide access to that report to you, right?
That'd be great. I mean, it was a couple months ago or whatever, but
Yeah.
we did have them come to our annual homeowners meeting. Well, disappointed, because they said, we cannot talk about it, so.
They couldn't talk about it.
Because of an ongoing investigation, which I'm sure that is, but we never heard.
Was it specific robbery, or just?
No, I think a couple, at least 4 or 5 houses in Long Grove at one point.
There were many, yes, yeah.
Yeah, so.
Well, I mean, they did catch some guys, they did make some arrests.
Did they, because we weren't aware, that would be good to know, okay.
No, they did, they made some arrests, I don't know if they solved them all, but they did, they did.
Who can make sure he gets a copy? Dana's got it? Okay, we'll make sure you have a copy of it, yeah.
Okay, all right. And then, Bill, I don't know if we spoke, but one of the residents, about police coverage, and Hawthorne Woods somehow approached, one of our residents, that, we sub out our service, and I speak to you, I guess we already re-upped with Lake County.
We did, I mean, the thing was, is that with all the plates spinning, there was no way to evaluate, so we re-upped with the Lake County. That doesn't mean we can't cancel it and move on, but that's what we did.
Yeah. I don't think anybody has any preference either way
Right.
in the homeowner association, but it did then bring up the other question of what is our renegotiated contract coverage? And that was another one where I think I was told, we can't tell you because then it'll send a signal to the bad guys. It's like, so, because I used to hear that we have 12 hours during the day, but not at night. And
We're covered 24 hours, period. Yeah, which is just, we pay for patrols part of the day, right? We don't pay for the after hours. We have coverage 7 by 24.
okay.
Yeah,
'Cause I
that
don't know-
is the message, that's the truth, right? So,
Perfect. Because I think in the past it was a limited budget or.
There's coverage and then there's dedicated patrol.
Dedicated, right,
So it's different, coverage 24/7.
okay.
Dedicated patrol differs,
And that's the 12-hour?
more than 12.
It's
17.
yeah, it's like two shifts per day. It's a morning shift and an afternoon evening shift. We do not have coverage in the overnight hours with the special detail. We do have coverage with the default Lake County Sheriff over those hours. Our data statistics, which Bill's gonna forward to you, is really interesting because it shows there's very, very, very little activity and very little crime reported actually during that overnight minimum shift. Not that I'm welcoming you,
No, you're right,
but there's very, very little reported. Our peak activity for the sheriff is actually in the afternoon.
Because we knew of 5 PM break-ins, right? Yeah. Okay, all right, well, that's helpful to.
But the data is really good, the package that's put together will
Yeah.
show you what the statistics are.
And Dana's gonna get it to you, yeah.
Okay. One other thing that came up a while ago, and prior to you, Bill, North Kruger, we don't mow our sides. I mean, the fields actively mows the sides of North Kruger Road. So long story short, I've written a couple emails and found out that Gila Township covers our mowing, but does the village enforce the frequency? Because this is where, and this is really granular, but this is where it was way off coverage, but no one can tell you when they're supposed to be mowing. And then I'm thinking, we paying Gila, and no one's
No, we pay by the service, so every time they do something, they charge us, right? So I don't know if there's, I mean, this is a thing for Chris or Dana or whatever, who has it, just is there a schedule to make sure things are trimmed up, right?
That'd be great, I mean,
Yeah.
if it's 3 times, whatever
Yeah.
it is, but no one seems to know, and I'll be honest, I also, when it gets about 2 feet high, I end up chasing them.
In fairness, we're on our like 4th manager, and, sorry, Chris, we're hoping to stay around. In the last 4 years, right, so, that's one of the things that just gotta get sorted out, so.
Okay,
They do it, there's a regular schedule, but if there's an issue, you can just send me an email, I mean, you have my address. you know,
I'll
we
get
can talk
Yeah.
And, we can check it out, and they'll come out if it's thrown over or anything.
that'd be great.
So that's not a problem, and they'll check it, and,
Okay.
take care of it, so there's no problem.
No, I appreciate that. Along those lines, trash pickups for the village, but more specifically at North Kruger. So I've organized Stevenson High School students in about a month to do trash pickup on North Kruger. To be honest, I don't know, is that somebody else's, is that the village or Eagles' job? To do trash, everything that's dumped on the side.
I mean, like litter versus trash?
Yeah. Is that the village contract or?
So one of you guys want to answer? I mean, we typically, sometimes we'll go through and clean it up. Now, there was an organization that was doing this in the spring. Who was doing that?
So we do a spring cleanup where we encourage, groups to do it. So the Park District does sort of spring cleanup, and then we kind of work alongside them. So we're gonna be putting out through Constant Contact and through our, monthly newsletter, the e-newsletter, encouraging people to do it. And then what, Waste Management does is basically during the week of Earth Day, any trash that's kind of put on the side of the road during that, Waste Management, when they go by, they'll pick up any bags of trash that are put on the side of the road during that week. And we'll be spreading the word with that, through Constant Contact and through our, social media and everything during that time. The Park District will put the same word out. I mean, it's basically the responsibility of the residents and everything to do that. We do have ELA go out, during this time of year and do the roadside stuff, and we have had them do extra ones. So there was, over on, I forget what road it was, I'd have to look it up. But there
Cuba,
was-
I think Cuba.
Yeah, it was Cuba, yeah, an extra request where we sent them out to do a second one.
I mean, it is to be a broader issue for the village, but for North Kruger specifically, especially now in the spring, there's a ton of litter. And so I got the environmental club that Stephen still comes, but that's kids just one time, so I didn't know if there's a frequency that the village can help with. I also got somebody here help me, schedule ELA to do the garbage pickup once they put the bags up.
Yeah, that's why, we're,
Yeah,
they're coming to pick up,
but our bigger concern is, somebody's supposed to be coming twice a year that we're not aware of, which is, the size of the road. Once a year, or any,
Yeah, ELA does, so they come and do that.
I don't think we've ever been hit.
Okay, so I can make sure they come and do that.
Okay, that'd be great.
Yeah.
That'd be great. Hey, lastly, the status on the house on Route 22 for the religious organization that somebody talked to last was going to planning in Mundelein and then was going to come here. Is anything happening there?
Hey, Vic, you're here, do you want to give us an update if you have one? You're muted, by the way. We see you muted, I can't, all right, Vic,
Still muted.
you're still muted.
We're not paying for those words.
Thanks, Bobby. Vic
Okay,
can't,
I think can you hear me now?
See, that got his attention.
now we can start paying, okay.
So the question again was,
The status of the temple, do you have any status on it? Do you know where it's at?
yeah, we're finishing our review of the application along with the planning staff. We should be having a letter out next week to the applicant. And at this point, I think there may still be a few outstanding items, but perhaps not enough to delay the hearing any further. So there would be then the public notice, which would go out both to the nearby residents as well as in the newspaper. And then there would be the public hearing before the PCZBA.
Is there a date? I'm sorry.
No, there's no date yet, no.
Like within a month, 2 months, because some of the residents are monitoring this, and I know it was triggered by what kind of.
Right now, in terms of the scheduled plan commission meetings, unless they hold a special meeting on the third Tuesday.
Oh, you're muted again, Vic. Oh,
Okay,
there you go.
unless they hold a special meeting on the third Tuesday of April, which they sometimes do, this would be on the first meeting in May. So it's either the third Tuesday in April or the first Tuesday in May.
Okay, so those are the.
But there will be notice that goes out before then. And again, we need to confer with the planning staff to make sure that there's enough for the plan commission to move forward.
Got it, okay. That was, that one, people are supposed to monitor when that happens, but anything you could help to give us a heads up too. There's a lot of interested parties.
And there will be mailed notice to all the residents within 250 feet of that property.
Got it, okay. Thank you, that's all I had.
Can I get your last name again?
Yeah, it's Appel, A-P-P-E-L-L.
Okay.
Thank you, Steve, appreciate it. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for the thorough thought. We appreciate it.
The preserves at Long Grove, Ben Miller, are you here anywhere? If not, it's now time for public comment. Who's got public comment? Ben?
Hi, my name is Spencer Matthew from 4369 Oakley Lane in the Oakley Homeowners subdivision. My subdivision is wondering, in light of Amanda's contract coming up due on April 30th, who's currently the village planner, will she be renewed, or how will that work if she's not renewed, and what will happen in relation to 4359, the place that wants to become a religious organization? And my second question, I'm not sure if it's not so much of a village issue. I know McCarthy, you helped out with this in the past, but on Illinois 22, between Old McHenry Road and 83, the shoulders have pretty much collapsed. And I've been trying to contact IDOT to get them to do something about that, and, pretty much just been hearing nothing. So I was wondering if there's anything the village can do about getting those shoulders, because they used to come out every year and regrade them, but now we just have ruts on this side of the road.
We can nudge IDOT and see if we can.
Yeah, and those are my two questions.
Yeah, we did seek RFPs for the building and planning services. So we're reviewing the submissions now. Mundaline will be ending our services with Mundaline April 30th, like you said, and then transitioning to a new firm.
And then what will happen with the 4359 thing if it's not, like for the sake of argument, they don't have what they need done by April 30th, we'll just go to the new firm?
Yeah, and there might be some overlap with Mundaline, kind of phasing out some of the projects they were working on, at least for a little while. But yeah, we'll have to see how quick the new firm can get on board and caught up to speed on everything.
Answer your questions?
Yes.
Got it. And Jeff Blackburn was here before the meeting started too, just so you know.
He's texting me.
Okay. All right, got it. Thank you.
If you don't hear from me this week, give me a call or email me to remind me.
Okay, no problem, thank you.
Any other comments in the room or online?
I have a weird question. Are village offices open on Friday?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. New York Stock Exchange is closed, so my industry is closed on Friday, Good Friday, so.
Got it. Yeah, nope, I'm working on Good Friday, so, yeah. I hope it's a good Friday. All right, so, there's no public safety reports tonight, right? Nobody's here, that's unusual. So then we're gonna move on to the consent agenda. Now, we have a few items on there. We have approval of the February 2024 Treasury Report, approval of the regular board meeting minutes, from March 12th, 2024, subject to non-substantive revisions, approval of a resolution for improvements under the Illinois Highway Code, in the amount of $350K. That's really so we can use MFT funds for the road and construction projects for this year. And then approval of resolution of the annual update to the Long Grove zoning map for 2024. The only change on there, and because I don't think it was in the manager's report, and Dana got this to me, was that Phillips Estates was added, an R2 subdivision. Phillips Estates was added to the map. If you didn't notice it, I was trying to find out what the change was, and that's what it was. It's an R2 subdivision. So that's all we have. Does somebody have any questions, concerns, or does somebody want to make a motion to approve?
I have two questions. One is, I know I've seen it, but I haven't seen it in years. And that's the map that shows where all the little pieces that are village owned, but not on the zoning map.
Aren't they?
I think Jeff had it at one time.
Yeah, no, we have that. I don't think it's on the village website, but I can get it over.
And it's not in the zoning map?
They're just identified as village owned. They're on there, but they're so small, like,
But you can't see them? If you zoom in on it, can you see it, or you can't even see it when you zoom in?
No.
So it's basically a special run of just those.
Yeah.
Okay, so can you get that, or, okay,
yeah, I
all
can
right.
find that and send it over to.
And that's the only question I have.
Thanks for bringing that up, appreciate it. Does somebody want to make a motion to
Motion to
approve?
to pass, to
The
approve.
consent agenda, okay. Yep, the consent agenda, Bobby, thank you for making the motion. Seconded by trustee Tanucci. Roll call, because there's funds.
Trustee O'Reilly.
Aye.
Trustee Tanucci.
Aye.
Trustee Borowski.
Aye.
Trustee Jamil.
Aye.
Trustee Kritzmeyer. Aye. Trustee O'Connor.
All right, motion carries. You know, I want to stop here for a second too, because this is, we didn't get a chance to do this. This is your last meeting, so. And, why don't you say thank you? You're leaving the village and,
Yes.
you're moving on the 9th, right?
Yep. I have to miss that meeting because that's our close date, so I will
Yeah.
no longer be a Long Grove resident.
Yeah, so we're gonna, if anyone wants to volunteer for our village clerk, we need one. Michelle, you were fantastic, so thank you for
Thank you.
for doing that.
I've been
Yeah, thank you. Look at that. Isn't that awesome? Look.
I know, it is. No, I have a great appreciation for what all of you do, the time and the effort and the care that you put into this. So thank all of you. And
Thank you.
I will be hanging out in downtown Long Grove still, so.
We look forward to seeing you there. Thanks for your service.
So if the words apply to you, you can enjoy. It can be a hard act to follow. Thank you.
All right, we're accepting applications now if you want to be village clerk. All right, now we're gonna move to the other business, and the most exciting thing of the day is gonna be the small municipal separate storm sewer system, MS4 presentation by Carolina Cho, today, and it doesn't get any more exciting than this.
Thank you, I appreciate the hype that you gave me. Do you guys have the?
Oh, you know I do. Let me try to figure out how, I can bring it up. Let me figure out how to do that. I was all prepared with the zoning map though, so that I didn't need, right? So let me see if I can find, where is it? Is it up, right here? Oh, right there, okay. This is what we want, this?
Yeah, I think it should be.
Ah,
Yeah,
okay.
there you go.
Do I need to download it, or is this?
I think you should be able to just.
Yeah, let's hit the slideshow. Slideshow, okay, does that work?
Let's see.
Yeah, I am gonna have to exit full screen, because I want to share it online. Oh, that's working really well.
Yeah, the internet is slow tonight, I've noticed that.
All right, let me do this. Yeah. If I can. See if I can just go up. I may just do it this way and see if I can, this might be good enough. And share, let me just share my screen. Go back and find Zoom. Share screen. Just gonna share it, be done with it. Hopefully everyone can see this, well enough. And, let's see. All right, that worked well, so it dropped me.
Might be the internet.
All right, stand by. Anybody on the speaker phone?
I'll probably go and look at that.
That's weird. Let's try again.
They're still on here.
Are they?
So they're still here.
Do we pay our bill to Zoom? You can't get on the internet?
Yeah, it's an internet issue.
Probably, yeah, but that was on.
All right, is this thing connected, or what am I?
I am connected to the Wi-Fi, it's just, we don't have any connectivity.
But you're connected to everyone?
This laptop is, the Zoom room is still here, so you were kicked out of it, but everyone else. Is that connected over Wi-Fi or an Ethernet cable? Over Wi-Fi.
All right, let me just do a disconnect. Connect. Start over.
If you can hear me, you can hear me, everyone over Zoom, or just having.
I can hear you.
That came from the audio, the speakerphone, we have it. Yeah, dial-in, so. Why, you're connected to Wi-Fi? Are you connected?
I am, but I can't get anything on the internet.
And my wheels are spinning.
You're spinning wheels too?
So we're connected to the internal Wi-Fi network, but we're not connected to the outside, or at least not connected well.
Something happened, it just went wacko, huh?
But audio's working.
Well, is it recording over there too? Are we still recording?
Yes.
Okay.
You're okay.
I might make noise, I'm doing some of the pots.
All right,
So, now we're, oh wait, you're back.
all right, so you're out, I'm in?
Yeah.
I kicked you out, all right. While you're doing that, let me, try this one more time. And we're gonna spend all our time.
Well, if it's easier, I can just talk. I don't have to have the presentation. Not the end of the world.
Nope, we will do that. Well, no, we were literally kicked out of the whole thing, so I'm gonna be very careful.
I know, I
I don't even wanna touch anything.
I think you're back up.
Okay, good. All right, let me just, go ahead. Is that good enough to see everyone? Can you see it?
I think so.
I think I could probably make it a little bigger, I think, right? Should be able to make it just a little bigger. All right, I'm just gonna leave it like that. Let's just work with it. I'm not touching anything. I don't even wanna download it. I'm afraid.
Some kind of malware in there or something. Okay, so this is the municipal separate storm sewer system. This is a program required by Illinois Environmental Protection Agency, and the intent is to protect our stormwater.
Bill, could you move her speaker? I can't hear
Oh,
her.
yeah, come on closer, will you? Yes.
Better?
Much. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so as I was saying, it's a program required by Illinois Environmental Protection Agency, and the intent is to protect our water from pollution as well as remediate for any pollution issues that we discover during our inspections. So some of the things we look for are blockages such as litter, leaves, twigs, debris, oil sheens, soap suds, and then also structural issues. That's not necessarily a part of the permit program, but is something that we look for while we're out there doing inspections. You could just pull one down. Okay, so while we're out there, we have a little survey that we fill out, and things that we take note of are odors, color within pipes and also of the water, plant growth surrounding the pipe, or sometimes it ends up within the pipe depending how maintained it is, and then also if there's a flow of water, which technically there should not be as we're performing dry weather inspections to get the most accurate review of what the water looks like on a typical day. But if there is flow, then we note the speed and duration of that flow. So here's some outfalls within the village. So there's a very wide variety of pipes that we look at, coming from different areas, collecting water and taking them, whether it's to a water body or just to a ditch. They vary pretty widely in size, and then also just material. So those are just a few examples of what I'm talking about when I say outfall. We also take a look at basins and stream banks within the village, again, just for water pollution issues, because this is where the water that's traveling through this pipe ends up. So those are some images that we took this past summer. This is an update regarding the permit itself. So every 5 years, the permit is supposed to be reissued, meaning they do a couple of revisions, including some rewording, maybe some additions and some things taken away. The permit was supposed to be renewed back in 2021 and has not yet been. I know that EPA is a little bit short-staffed and maybe behind on some things, so they say that they're coming out with it this month. They're running out of time. So we'll see. If they do come out with a new permit this month, then we will revise the village's stormwater management program plan, which is basically just a document stating that we fully intend to comply with everything that the permit requires. And then the village is part of the Des Plaines River Watershed Work Group, and something that they've been working on is a NARP, a Nutrient Assessment Reduction Plan. And some things that they're focusing on are phosphorus levels within water. So there was a study done by Geosyntec, who is a consultant that the Watershed Work Group hired, and these are just a few conclusions that they came to. There's a very large, expansive report that I can send to anybody if they're super interested. It's pretty in-depth. It's also kind of hard to follow, but if you are interested, I can get that to you. I think you can also, the village has this PowerPoint, so if you would like to see those points in more detail, I'm not going to go through them now, but basically they're just saying that there's various points that they want to hit to reduce phosphorus to the point that the EPA would like them to. So that's just an update about what the work group has been doing. If anybody has any questions about MS4, I can answer them now. Yeah?
For the sake of argument, if somebody, there's a property next to mine and has two dry streams and a swale.
Okay.
Would you be looking into that if they wanted to construct something on that?
Oh, can, like, take it out,
Or like in general.
or fill it, or,
Yes, if they wanna, put up a non-residential structure on this property, and as part of that, they wanna alter the driveway and do a bunch of things. So, and that's gonna affect the, the stream that has two forks and a swale that's going over there.
that's, I'm gonna defer to you, yeah.
Yeah,
More
no,
engineering.
during the detailed review, if an applicant wants to manipulate, if you will, a stream, fill it in, move it, reroute it, whatever, I review that under the, requirements of the Lake County Watershed Development Ordinance and also, FEMA if it's a floodplain. But, yes, Carolina would probably get involved with that one too, because it's,
Oh, yeah.
because if it's a map of wetlands, she also, reviews that for the village.
But it
It's
wouldn't
a different set
necessarily-
of,
yeah.
requirements, it's not, an MS4.
Okay.
Well, speaking of that, we got a letter on March 11th that I shared with village staff from the Lake County Stormwater Management Commission. It said, congratulations, I'm pleased to notify you that the Lake County Stormwater Management Commission, SMC, has approved your petition for recertification of the watershed, right? Is what you're talking about?
Yep.
Which is different than this, right?
Right.
And development of an ordinance enforcement for standard isolated waters of Lake County provisions. No conditions have been placed on your certification status by the commission. Thank you for your commitment to upholding, at a minimum, the WDO development standards in your community, right? So that's different than the MS4, but it's related, right?
Yeah, they both deal with stormwater.
Really?
From that, yes, the watershed development ordinance says, the intent is protecting natural resources, addressing pollution, things like that.
Okay, all right. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for coming, yeah. All right,
You're right with the bang, sorry.
the next item on the agenda is Brothers Field. There's three of them. And one of them is discussion and consideration of ordinance amending Chapter 1, Title 3 of the Long Grove Village Code regarding business license for temporary special event venues. And then if that goes, then discussion and consideration of an ordinance amending the Long Grove liquor license regarding, temporary special liquor licenses. And then finally, discussion of and consideration of special event requests. So, Chris, can I turn it over to you, and we keep going on and offline on the video with an unstable internet connection, but can I turn it over to you to sort of introduce item A on the agenda?
Yeah, so, Vic and I met, and I also met with, Jesse, for this whole project. And the ultimate goal is to have the redevelopment occur of the total site to get it into compliance with the zoning code. I know this goes back to the pandemic, so it's been a few years, and we've received new plans for the development, that were pretty much complete, but we're waiting for the final versions of them to come through, so it's close to a full set of plans. So recognizing the need to have the redevelopment completed, to be in compliance, we developed, some language in these ordinances that would tie them to some project milestones, which includes that the liquor licenses won't be issued until a completed application is submitted. The plans need to get through the ACPCDA, DBA, and the village board by August 1st. And then permits and contracts completed and delivered by October 1st. And then construction to be ultimately completed by next summer. And that would include completion for the tan barn and the concrete pad. After discussing with Jesse, the total scope of the project seems out of their cash flow and financing ability. So the step one would be to complete the tan barn and concrete pad by next summer, followed by the outdoor bar and ultimately the permanent pavilion replacing the tent.
Can you repeat that last bit? So the revised conversation you've had is on what date? What thing, what date?
Would have been last Friday.
Yeah, last Friday we met.
No, the last thing you said would be, they didn't have the cash flows to support that, so this is what?
So it's a phased approach over a multi-year. So the step one would be the tan barn to get the restaurant and the full year-round business going, which would comply with the liquor license requirements. I think we all want with food and alcohol sales commingled, and the concrete pad, which would cover the overall outdoor space. And following that would be the outdoor pavilion bar. And then the other expensive piece would be the permanent structure replacing the deck. Did I get that right?
It's page 3 of document 10.1.
Yeah, I was trying to fill in some of the details in that document.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Any, discussion or questions?
If, this is Vic, if I might just add one thing, the ordinances that are before you tonight, which are for the 2024 business and liquor licenses, don't fully cover everything. We will be having to further supplement some of the requirements that Chris has outlined as part of the zoning approvals that are anticipated to be forthcoming. So once we get the applications in and they've gone through the public hearing process, assuming that they are ripe for approval, those ordinances will, in addition to granting the approvals, include further timetable requirements so that we are assured that this redevelopment stays on pace.
So are you suggesting we don't take action on those tonight?
We don't, well, we can't take we take action on the two ordinances before you, but as to the additional information that we are awaiting and the additional conditions that will be imposed, those can't occur until we actually have a zoning approval coming before you. But there will be additional conditions that will be a part of the zoning approvals that will be fulfilling the rest of the items that Chris was outlining.
Thank you.
When it comes to approving the request for a summer of events, do we approve through June? Do we approve none until this is done? How would that work?
What's on the table is to approve the whole season right now.
Right. One of the things also you'll see in both the business license and liquor license ordinance is that if they do not meet the requirements that are set forth in section 3 of each of those ordinances, then they are at peril of losing those business and liquor licenses, which would basically cancel all of those other events.
And those have dates on them?
The events are, yes, they are listed on the agenda.
No, the goals that need to be met, do they have dates certain?
The dates for the 2024 season, yes, those are specified dates.
No, but I think on page 4 of the document I'm looking at, it lays out the dates, right? Within
Yes.
60 days after the requesters receive village approval of the redevelopment application, requesters shall submit complete building permit application thereof, along with deposits required, right? I think there's a $7,500 fee that may already be, we may already have some of that money. By October 1, 2024, or such later
Okay,
date, the village.
Yeah,
'cause
and
that's what
one
we're
of the
looking
other,
for, right?
if you look, right, if you look at section
That's what I
3,
thought, but
right, if you look at section
Yeah.
3A, Romanette 1, neither of these business or liquor licenses gets issued until they have filed their application. So if they want to move forward with these projects or with these special events, they need to get moving on their zoning applications. Once they file those zoning applications, they can get the licenses and hold the events. But if they dilly-dally, they will not have the licenses and those events cannot go forward.
and we're gonna hold their feet to the fire.
Well, that's what these ordinances are stating that we will be doing. It's up to you all to approve them. If you want to change them, you have that right.
So if we, I just want to be clear on whether I understand this properly or not. If we approve all of the events, they become null if the other preconditions have not been met.
Well, all of the events are dependent on their having a business license as well as a liquor license. I guess the one that doesn't need a liquor license is the Fairy Princess one, is that? But aside
Hope
from
not.
that, I believe aside from that one, all of them are anticipating selling of liquor. So, but the business license is still required for even the Fairy Princess one. So for these to go forward, they need to file their zoning application. Then they can get the 2 licenses and then they can hold their events. And so long as they stay on track with the requirements in section 3 of these 2 ordinances, then they'll be able to continue with those events. If they fail to stay on track, then they are at peril of their licenses being pulled and the events being revoked.
Thank you.
I want to ask why that fees is increased so much from $35 to almost about $500 for a very special event.
Maybe the flip
There's
side,
something behind that drastic increase.
I was gonna say, maybe the flip side would be my question of how much legal time have we spent on this matter? So maybe, I don't know if they're related or not.
Now that 500 is for the season though, right, not for.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah, it's for the season.
So $500 to run a business on almost every weekend in the summer, it's not too bad.
Well, you gotta have 2 of them. You have to have that, and then there's the other liquor license.
That's why it's
Yeah.
increased, because this used to be more of an ad hoc kind of thing, you know, where COVID hit, we're doing what we can to make sure that they're running some revenue, so. Now it's getting a little bit more in line with costs, in a sense, but it's $500 for the season.
But they still need the second one. That's just one.
I
Yeah.
understand.
Yep.
So legal fees, are the legal fees being passed on? Right? You know, we haven't had to do anything like this with any other vendor in the village.
Yeah. Well, at this point, we don't have an application. Usually the pass-through of reimbursable consultant fees, whether legal, planning, engineering, are governed by our zoning applications, which have those provisions in them. So at this point, these are being essentially funded through our liquor code and our liquor fund and our business licensing fund. So the increased amounts in part were to try to capture some of the expenses that have been borne.
I see.
And we do have an escrow with them right now that the plan review and engineering review, the preliminary planning and engineering reviews will be deducted. They're not legal.
You're looking, so I don't know if you have.
I am looking, I have kind of a question just for clarity's sake. So the goals and milestones are to do exactly what? Is it to build, construct, remodel the tan barn first? Is that my understanding? To build the outdoor, indoor space, get that running? The concrete pad goes where? It goes next to the pavilion or where the tent is now?
Where the tent is now,
Next
yeah.
to it, or, I mean, what are the actual milestones that we're trying to address with this particular thing? Because to me, it's, you know, the indoor-outdoor space to me is appropriate. Ancillary auxiliary use for the pavilion is, be nice, it's okay. But to me, I want to develop the property best we can for, you know, to be used as a year-round, I don't know what the right word is, amenity for the village, right?
Let me
Yeah.
offer if I can offer an initial response, and maybe Chris can supplement. But at this point, we don't have a full zoning application. We don't have an explanation of all the sequencing and things like that. So the ordinances provide for the initial set of milestones. That's why I suggest we're going to see more when we actually have a zoning application ready for consideration and approval, because we don't have that information now. We do provide milestones that will make sure that they file an application, that they deliver the escrow for it, that they process that application, and assuming that it is approved, that they will then move forward with the building permit stuff. Additionally, there's a requirement for them to do reporting on a monthly basis of sales tax, which, as you may recall, had been an ongoing open question for a number of years as to the activities and the active participants at Brothers Field. Now, when we get to the zoning, I anticipate that we will have had a lot more information about what they intend to do and the sequencing of those things, and the zoning ordinance will then include a further set of milestones.
That would involve the ultimate redevelopment of the property.
Thank you.
Well, I don't know if this helps or not, but I mean, I spoke to Jesse on Friday, right? So, and Chris kind of said it, the two things they want to do right away are the tan barn, turning it into a restaurant, getting that open, and then putting that pad in where the gravel is right now. And then eventually, it's the pavilion, and again, this is what we haven't seen plans on, but he's talking about some kind of a structure that mimics like a barn that has doors that open up, that can be used all year round, right? And that's probably an expensive structure. That would be at a later date, but they would, within that first year, try to get off the ground, if you will, getting the restaurant open and getting the pad in place. And those other things will fold in, and it'll be TBD on the exact schedule of the rest.
Why do you say the barn is an expensive structure? I don't quite understand. I mean, the drawing that the petitioner handed me unofficially last meeting was just a pavilion with rolling doors on it. Basically a pole barn with rolling doors and some concrete. So why do you say that's an expensive structure?
I don't know what it's gonna cost with heating and everything else, and I don't know what you need to put in
So
there.
that becomes a year-round pavilion then?
Yes, yeah. So it could be in the summer, it would be opened up and, outdoors, and in winter it could be, used, sort of inside, right? Sounds neat. I, haven't really seen it yet, but yeah.
So if I understand this correctly, that
Did I get it right? Yeah.
the construction has to begin no later than basically a year from now, March 30th, 2025.
That's
Section
correct.
3D.
That would be the latest. That wouldn't be that they have to wait, the anticipation that we have, and this again will be fleshed out more, I presume, in the zoning approvals, is that they will begin the construction on the tan barn, much of which will be internal remodeling, from what I understand, within 60 days after they get that zoning approval. But in terms of any work that requires, footings and things like that, I think they have to probably wait until the 2025 building season. And if you look at the language, what we say is they're going to begin no later than, but they need to begin with the contract, or provide us with the contract within 60 days after the approval of the redevelopment. And again, some of these things may be dependent on how long it takes to get through the review process, and the quality of the input will determine the speed with which the output occurs.
Understood. Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Comments?
What's the board's view or feel or thoughts about other business developments or locations in the village coming to us with a similar kind of approach? In terms of, let us put up a tent in our parking lot, let us run summer festivals, and eventually we're gonna build the next step. What do you guys think of the village being in that position? Stirring it up.
Well, remember, this happened because of COVID initially.
Yeah, my
God
daughter,
willing, we won't deal with that again anytime soon.
I think it's an interesting question about, do we want to, maybe similar to food trucks? You know, not make, if I'm hearing between the lines, you may not be completely happy with the one-offness of it versus like having an even approach. Is there an opportunity to think about how might we allow people to test concepts as long as they don't, like, start something and then it becomes an eyesore they can't fulfill?
Well, I think that.
That's me thinking out loud, I'm not
Yeah,
saying.
well, so Chris, what I'm thinking here is that the goal here is to bring this in compliance with our village code, and we have to probably amend our code a little bit, right? So that's what's gonna cover our assets, is that, my opinion. Is bring it into
Yeah.
compliance with something that we can live with, right?
And
Go ahead.
and again, I know you all know the history, but I think in terms of the metamorphosis of this is that it started as an alternative to indoor restaurants during COVID. It served a useful gathering place throughout that. Last year, just as the season was starting, was also when the COVID restrictions were ending. And if you look at the ordinances that you approved last year, it was pretty clear that we were going to allow them to continue in their non-compliant activities just for last season so that they could move forward with their development plans. That did not happen. You'll see that the ordinances before you tonight make it maybe bludgeoningly clear that the work needs to get done this year or this season won't continue. So I guess the ordinances that are before you tonight presume that this is not going to be something that happens again. It was really the unique circumstances of the COVID pandemic that let it get started, and that the village board had at least indicated last year a willingness to give them the opportunity to convert themselves into a lawful use, which has not yet happened.
I 100% think it's a beneficial asset to the village, and I 100% want it to be in compliance with our code. Tabletop, if they don't make their milestones, how does that work?
How does it work if they don't make their milestones? What happens?
If they don't make the milestone, the board has the opportunity to terminate the licenses, and that would end the activity, the scheduled events for 2024. The board does not have to exercise that. The board can take other approaches, including fines. But in terms of what can happen versus what the board chooses to happen, that's going to be within the board's discretion. And there may be extenuating circumstances that would warrant an extension of or forgiveness of some of these milestones. We wanted to make sure that the village board was fully capable of pulling the plug if they didn't live up to their projected commitments.
Okay.
I guess I'll ask, just, are you okay with what we're proposing? I'll just go around the horn really quick. Start there. Ken, or Dr. Jamil?
I'm okay.
Okay, Ken? Rita?
Maybe 80%.
All right, not quite there. Bobby?
Do you want a motion? Is it,
I think we might have enough support
He's
here.
taking temperature.
I'm taking temperature before we go to the emotions. The motion, Ann, how about you? Oh, you just made a motion? Okay, are you gonna make a motion?
yeah, I would make a motion. Do we do them separately or together?
We could do them all together, right, Vic?
Yes, you could.
Okay, I make a motion to approve all of the ordinances.
Okay, so that was moved by trustee O'Reilly, seconded by.
And so that would be the business license, liquor license, and special events calendar approval?
Yes.
Correct.
Can we talk about that a little bit, like the third one? Because there's a typo in our agenda and there's a typo in the paperwork. Or something's funny in the paperwork, because on the agenda, it lists 1/1/24 as one of the event dates, and that obviously is passed. Obviously, that's a typo, so we need to probably clarify that, but on some of the paperwork on number 3, in terms of the actual events, I have no idea what the events are. And when you look at the paperwork, it's very difficult to understand exactly what some of those are. There's some reference that says, "and delicious food and drink," but there's no reference at all to where that food is coming from, or what it is, or you know, what the vehicle is for providing that food. So you know, I guess I don't want to hold anything up for that, but maybe for our new village manager, maybe there's some way we amend these forms for special events going forward that become a little bit more descriptive, because frankly, the description in some of those was parochial, to say the least. You know, I mean, tasty food and drink was one of the descriptions. Like, what the H is that? Tasty food and drink. So, is it food truck? Is it catered? Is it, you know, is it barbecue grill? You know, who's making the food? Where's it coming from? I'm sure it meets Lake Department health standards and all that, but where's it coming from? And to me, I read through those and I scratched my head on a few of them. I don't know what the heck these are.
Yeah.
I was more on the
Trust-
wires, not
Trustee,
front form.
Trustee Borowski's comment is apropos. We had also noted that there were a number of deficiencies in those special event applications. I think that before we issue the business license, we will make sure that those are going to be modified and updated, because they don't identify any of the vendors that are required. And that makes it very difficult for us to track whether or not they're collecting the necessary taxes. Chris and I had talked about this, but we weren't sure where this was ultimately going to go with the board. So we didn't want to start pursuing things unnecessarily. I think that if this is approved, as it sounds like it may be, before they get those licenses, there will be a need for them to update each of those applications. I think the one that probably doesn't is the Fairy Princess one, but I think all of the other ones will require some updating. And Chris and I had talked about that, but you know, figured let's make sure we know that we have something going forward before we go down that path.
Thank you, Vic. I love your chair. And just to note, if I went to a Fairy Princess, I would need to have the alcohol in place for that. So.
Maybe that's not the event for you.
Okay, so the private party's on 3/7/24, right? Is that correct? Right.
So it is already passed also?
That's true, it's already passed, isn't it? Yeah.
No, it's
There was
June 1st.
Paperwork is June something.
Yeah, event date, June 1st, 2024.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. June 1st. Okay.
that one's mine.
All right, so we have a live motion. That was moved by Trustee O'Reilly, seconded by Trustee Tanucci. I guess it's a roll call vote.
Trustee O'Reilly.
Aye.
Trustee Tanucci.
Aye.
Trustee Borowski.
Can you come back to me?
Sure.
Thank you.
Trustee Jamil.
Aye.
Trustee Kritzmeyer.
Aye.
Trustee O'Connor. Trustee Borowski.
Nick.
All right, motion carried. Thank you. Yep. Yes, you do. Yep, absolutely. Thank you. Thanks for being here.
You know, I did have, just one question on the liquor license. Did it end up being 2 separate liquor licenses?
Yeah.
That's the first time we've ever done that. I've never heard.
No, they don't require 2 separate licenses. This is a carryover from what was approved last year. You have the ability of only serving on special event dates, or the second license also allows, once the license is issued, and not until then, also would allow the weekend hour events, even if it's not one of the special events. But again, that's correct. Those are the 2 options that were approved last year and were part of the ordinances this year, again, until we get the actual licenses issued, which will require the zoning application filed. You will have no licenses, you will have no liquor selling ability.
Because I think last year was 1,500 for everything, is what we paid. And what's proposed for this year?
I believe it's
I think it was
3,500.
2,500 and 500, right?
Last year, I think it was, $1,525, and this year
Yeah.
it's 3,500.
That's quite the increase. And it's the highest liquor license in Long Grove is $2,750, and that's a year-round business. We're looking at 3 days a week, 6 months a year. I'm just curious why that hike would be so intense for us. And, in addition, for the separation of license, like, I know when Enzo's and the brewery has an outdoor event where they do special events from time to time, I don't know that they're getting separate licenses for those activities, liquor-wise. So I'm just, like you said, that's quite significant from last year for a seasonal business that gets 3 days out of the week. To be paying more than any other liquor license in town seems a little extravagant.
Let's hold on a second, let's make sure we have the right numbers. Dick, did you have them? Because I thought it was 2,500 and 500.
I've got them here.
Oh, it is 3,000, you're right, yeah.
Yeah, so the SET two is 3,000, SET one is 1,500.
And they can get either of those. They don't need both.
Right, one or the other.
Well, what they had last year, they'll have to have the SET2, and then the other, one for the, what's it called, the, SET, right? They'll need both of them.
Yeah, last year they got the SET2 license, and it
Right.
was 1,500. This year it's 3,000. And last year the business license was $25, and this year it's 500.
Wow. Is this like a village-wide increase, or is this specifically Weathersfield?
This is for this specific license, these specific licenses.
And it's an increase on these licenses from last year.
Yes, that's what I heard.
Any discussion on it, or you good as is?
I asked the question, I'm concerned that this is, like I said, I think it's an asset, I think I want it to go through, but I think we've spent a lot of our consulting time on it.
Okay.
So I'm concerned about that coverage and how does that balance out?
Okay, so you're fine with as it is, right?
Be on the theory that it's balanced, it's covering
It's covering.
higher expenses on our part.
Okay,
I don't know that that theory is borne out yet, but it feels like it might be.
Kent?
So I don't think we can predict the future at this point, but I'm understanding this is a one-time thing, just for this year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Once you get back to a normal liquor license, it would be at a normal rate. Is that correct?
That I believe the expectation would be, since these two licenses will not exist after October 31st of 2024, there would, or presumably would be, standard business and liquor licenses available to the Brothers Field operations once they are zoning compliant. One of the things that's critical here is that we're allowing a non-compliant activity, and that's one of the reasons why these are specific licenses.
And it sounds like two things. One, the effort or hours put in to make this happen are being rolled into the liquor license price, as well as almost like we're making this for you, so we're gonna double the charge because we can. It's kind of what I'm hearing. I'm not hearing much other than what the reason it would be twice as much as anyone in town would be asked to pay.
I think I'm hearing a little bit of we thought there would be progress last year.
And I do want to touch on just a couple of things. First off, I do thank all of you for trying to make this happen. I mean, this has been a crazy, never thought of it. People say, how'd you come up with that idea? We didn't. It just kind of happened. So I do appreciate that. But a couple of things, like one, I get this underlying current that we've dragged our feet. And this board recalls that just about a year ago now, we had that red building plans fully drawn for a big event. We were going to take it down. And this board was great and approved us to move forward. And so we built all our plans around everything surrounding that, the flow, the whole everything. When we got to the architectural committee, they told us, absolutely over our dead body, you're taking that down. We want you to put your focus onto the tan barn and rework your plans. That was only a year ago that happened. Everything we've been working on was redirected and changed. A year's not that much time, and as you heard from Chris, we're pretty close with these plans. So I just get this underlying current that there's this feeling we're dragging our feet. We reset just a year ago, almost completely on our intentions with this, and we're pretty happy with the outcome. I think it's gonna work well for everybody. But that's, you know, something I think should be stated, is we're not just going slow to go slow. We kind of revamped and had to regroup. It wasn't, you know, like the next day we had the next plan started. It took us some time to figure out, boy, how are we gonna redirect it? So we're pretty close. I mean, we're down to the where the lights point at a certain time of day and those kinds of plans. So I do think we're close, but I just want to state that, you know, these things, you guys know, take time. And I mean, this traffic study guy, I've been working on him for 6 months, and he's just finally out there. It's just, some of these people are tough. And then the other thing was the sales tax. I heard that get thrown around a little bit too. The first couple of licenses were under Metro North Inc., which was the dance studio. There was only this one last year that was under Brothers Field, but I've got receipts for all those things that are paid. It would have been harder to find under Metro North because that operates as a dance studio, so they were kind of filtered into those sales taxes. But the last year, Brothers Field had its own and all that set, so if there's trouble finding those records, we can get them for you.
We did confirm that.
Okay, cool.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah.
I think it's not the first time we've heard that people feel they're getting different communication from this board versus the AC. I think we own that at
Yeah.
some level.
Yep. Hey, Trustee O'Reilly, do you have any comments on this? You know, would you like to see a change in the price of the liquor license?
Well, no. But I would like to say that if we did not have a faith and trust into Jesse's and others' ability, we wouldn't be doing this, or I wouldn't be doing this another year. So, I think most people feel that way. We should have had this done last year. For whatever reason, we didn't. And I know they'll get it done, and therefore I'll let them do it again without the technical, legalistic stuff done.
Okay, I don't know that we have any support to make any changes, so you've got it approved with conditions, and, I mean, I hope you get everything done, and I want to see success here, I really do.
Thank you all.
Thank you, yeah.
Before we move on, could I make a request of Chris? I would like him to check into whether we can technically add some speakers to that room. Because I assume other people can only hear certain people, and and you're frozen again. And yet I lose so many conversations because there's no speaker.
Yeah, we can look into that. And I know with the remodel going on, there's a whole new AV system going on.
Yeah, but we got another year of being in this building, so it would be worthwhile, I think. If we could do
I don't
that.
even think this one they are. Yeah, but they're not even moving around, so they're like, somebody's redone the microphones. This one should be too late now, but. Yeah, can you move over the other side? Yeah, so this part of it's not even set up right, Bobby. Everything.
Oh, okay, well then let's set it up right. Because I couldn't hear anything that Rita said. I couldn't hear,
One of them,
which might be a good thing.
one of the mics has got a short in it, the other one wasn't even over there, so I don't know who rearranged this room. All I know is I come in here and the TV wasn't working and everything else, so.
Yeah, okay, just a request.
Good request, all right.
Now for some karaoke with Jeff.
Chris, all right, so the next item on the agenda is consideration of a request for additional funding by the Midwest Sustainability Group, and I'm gonna put you on the spot, Rita.
Okay.
Be loud so Bobby can hear you.
Okay, so we have a request from Midwest Sustainability for $10,000 in order to continue our journey with the corridor, turning it into hopefully a state park. The governor did put the planning of the park in the state budget. IDNR said they would need $1 million to have proper planning done on that 12-mile strip of land. And in order for, you know, now we're into details with, we need to make sure in Springfield, or actually Barb does, she has registered and is becoming a licensed lobbyist because of state laws and so on and so forth regarding speaking to delegates and what's the word I'm looking for? Being a proponent of this. What's critical at this point in time is that the legislators know exactly where the property is, why, and I heard a recent statistic on the wetlands on this 12-mile stretch. There's something like 97 wetlands on this 12-mile stretch, which environmentally is something that has to be planned around if it's going to be a route for animals, pedestrians, maybe golf carts, bicycles, skateboarders, that kind of thing. And it needs to be done in a sustainable manner. So this all takes time. And Barb has a job. She can't do the job and be in Springfield at the same time. She has to take off work. And it's not a one-day thing. It's going to be 7 to 10 days in Springfield talking to legislators, and hence the request for the money. Hawthorne Woods has agreed to come up with $5,000, which is nice. But that's really to speak with IDNR and CMAP and get them all coordinated would be hopefully the end product of this time in Springfield, because when the delegates come back for the fall session, this will be voted on.
Comments? You got money in the budget, right?
A question, do we have an accounting for what they spent the last bucket of money on?
Yes,
Yeah.
and I can get it formalized, yeah.
What was the last amount? Was it 50,000, as I recall?
Well, that was the total, but I think, yes, I think our last check was 10,000, and that was when Greg was still here, because I remember he wrote the check. So,
The last amount that was 50,000, it was budgeted for 40, but you guys voted to pay 50.
That's right, we came up with another 10, yes, that's right, thanks.
Yeah, it'd be nice to know where that 50 went.
Yeah, well, I can guarantee you that in getting to know
Thank you.
the people who are behind us, they are very frugal people. Nothing is spent without consideration.
The request we had last August had detailed number of hours and specific activities associated with the money that they were requesting. Revisit that, or ask her if she could annotate or update that.
Right, sure.
So,
And this really is specifically for being in Springfield for a 7 to 10 day period, talking to legislators who are going to be voting on this. And there are several local legislators who have turned to yes votes. It's not a strong yes, but it's better than the no that we heard earlier.
So this money is being used to basically pay her expenses, or
Pay her
salary, or?
both, pay her for her time, because she's a single parent, and she can't work her job and be in Springfield at the same time.
Paying her as a lobbyist.
Paying her for
A lobbyist, yeah.
basically, yeah. Which we talked about years ago, several years ago, just hiring a lobbyist. Now we have.
in this case, we have somebody who is personally interested, and Hawthorne Woods is willing to help fund too.
Yeah, and
Anyone else?
Yeah, but we're
It would
in for what, 70,000 or something like that?
it would be nice if Hawthorne Woods could, up their,
This year.
donations.
Is there a nice way there?
What, as far as what, Hawthorne Woods? I mean, yeah, I mean, I've already asked, I'll ask again, so, but I mean, right now, I think the issue on the table is that, that she's gotta get down to Springfield right away, time is of the essence. There was no real time to plan on this one, right?
Yeah.
This kinda came in out of the blue. You think about the fact that, the task force, you know, approved a recommendation to turn the former Route 53 corridor into green space, and we all had a part in that. Barbara had a part in that too, right? So the outcomes are so far moving in the right direction. The fact that the governor put $1 million in the budget to do this study was another outcome that we wanted and needed, and I know Barbara helped a lot to do that.
Well, initially, it was not in the budget,
Yeah,
and everybody was crestfallen, you know, like, we felt that it was on track, they were on board, everything was set, and there was no funding, and there was complete silence. And then 10 days, 2 weeks later, it's in the budget, so that's like a big deal.
It's formally in the budget or in a proposed budget?
well, it's in the
Well, the
proposed
budget hasn't
budget, it's not approved, it's not approved yet,
Hasn't
yeah.
been yet.
Yeah, you're right, it could be pulled out.
If I'm looking at it, the implied rate here is like a bit over $40 an hour. Okay, she's way cheaper than Vic.
Well, and other lobbyists would charge 2.5, 3 times that number.
Yeah, I would move we do this, I actually would.
Did you make a motion to approve?
I move that we approve this request.
Second.
Okay, so we have moved by trustee Kritzmeyer, seconded by trustee O'Connor.
Make that contingent on getting kind of a.
Yeah.
A contingent on,
Accountability
An
report.
accountability.
Get-
I'd totally be in favor of
Or
that.
a plan as to what
Absolutely.
that money will be used for.
correct, contingent on getting all the
Or something, you know.
Yeah.
something.
documentation, supporting documentation to back it up, right?
Yeah.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Kritzmeyer.
Aye.
Trustee O'Connor.
Aye.
Trustee Borowski.
Aye.
Trustee O'Reilly.
Aye.
Trustee Tanucci.
Aye. All right, motion carried. All right, we're gonna keep ourselves moving, so we hopefully have time to talk about the budget. It's the village engineers report.
Okay, so the village engineers report in the board packet, highlight a few items. First off is the village hall expansion. The first thing is get the Ruth barn moved. Talked to Carmichael Construction. They were scheduled to start the pier installation later this week, but weather has delayed the delivery of the timber mats that they need to cross the wetlands, so we're looking at constructing those piers next Tuesday. Bear Construction will come in then after the barn's moved May 1st. I am in discussions with Carmichael Construction about putting an amendment in the concrete to develop strength a little bit faster so that the barn can be moved within 2 weeks after pouring the foundations instead of 4 that has been previously talked about, to try to buy us some time. Waiting on a little bit of more information on that, but that's gonna be pretty inexpensive, around $250. So, seems worth it, but I'll get that formalized. Last
Jeff,
Friday,
could I ask a
Yeah.
question about the barn?
Yes.
Do the materials that are in the barn, do they need to be moved out in order to move the barn?
there's a combination that needs to happen. Some of it can stay in there, some of the larger pieces. Some of the other pieces that are smaller and not, affixed or secured or anything like that, they'll have to be, transported by hand. Taken out, moved over there, put back in.
And was that included in the price?
Yes,
It's,
yeah,
contract.
it was,
Yeah.
Bobby.
Okay,
Yeah.
What's in there? What kind of stuff is in
Not included is the outdoor pieces of.
Yeah, there's a few outdoor, pieces of farm equipment and like an old, harvesting machine, an old plow. I don't know what's gonna happen with those, but those are in the, footprint of the new village hall, so we'll have to talk about where those need to be relocated to.
Might be something Ela can.
Ela could probably help.
Trailer.
Okay.
Last Friday,
the village had a meeting with the school district to talk about the road access, if you will, to Old McHenry Road. Vic and their attorney are just kind of, working on just kind of I'll call it I don't want to call it a term sheet, that's probably a little bit too tough of a word, but, just kind of a memorandum of understanding, you know, that, because the village does have rights to use that road, but, you know, the school district wants to make sure that, construction operations, you know, deliveries and things like that to the best extent possible are not going to interfere with their operations. Obviously-
Essentially, if I might, Jeff, we're looking at just setting up protocols for coordinating activities between the use of the road by the village and by the school.
So, moving on, the road program, we talked about the MFT resolution that was passed earlier. The pathway study, as mentioned earlier, that's in infancy stages. Trustee O'Connor and I are scheduled next week to make a field tour of the existing pathways in the village to get our arms around that as an initial step on that. The Lake Michigan Water Connection, I'll defer that to discussing that with the budget. Aptekissick Road, taking advantage of, the county's taking advantage of nice weather to get some more pavement removed and storm sewer installed. So that's moving along. Under item 15, under the miscellaneous, just a note that the private road lengths are being tabulated for possible grant program. We can talk about that with the budget as well. And then, there's been discussion over the years really about the U-turn that happens at Oakwood Road, just east of 83. And the village is awaiting a price from Ela Township to put in temporary pylons from the median that's there to the first driveway east of 83 to discourage those illegal U-turns. We're still waiting on that, and until we get that, that'll be the next part of the conversation to move that forward. Other than that, there's a few different permit updates. Just kind of notably, McNaughton Homes is kind of moving forward with kind of some of their due diligence on the Deer Trail property, and they're might be making their application and posting a professional escrow to have reimbursed from the professional review fees here in the next, maybe this week, maybe next. So, I don't know if you know anything more on that.
Okay, did we get that yet? No, not yet, they said this week.
Is it accurate that they're proposing a community of 2 floor plans only?
I don't know that level of detail.
That's what the planning says.
Yeah, I read it in there, I'm like, I don't wanna lead these people on. But
2 floor
we,
plans, I think they differentiate.
what I'm getting at is we've never approved something like that, never. You know, monotony code. So, I'm just, it's just strange to me that it's gone this far, and I read that, and it's like, wait a minute.
Sorry, that's in the planner's report?
Right here, yeah, it's on page 4 of the planner's report. There you have it.
Thank you.
The planner's report, was that last week or? In the board packet?
Yeah, additional report.
Yeah.
It's under additional report.
Oh, I keep going in there and there's like nothing. Right, so it's like, you know, if that's like, we gotta figure that out, because I literally check and I keep going nothing, and if I miss a folder, there might have been something in
It'd
it.
be really nice if we only saw things that have something.
Yeah, so anyways, I'll be quiet. So I missed it then.
But I'm just concerned that,
Chris and I meet with Amanda and Tim.
What is Rita concerned about?
They only have 2 floor plans, and they're.
Who?
The new Deer Trail.
Oh, okay, I couldn't hear that part.
Yeah,
The planner's report, page 4, if you can find it on the shared drive, Bobby, says.
No, I know what's there. I couldn't hear what Rita was saying.
that's what she's talking about. So I'm worried that even when we approved that subdivision, we were pretty particular
Right.
yes.
very detailed. So this is like totally the exact opposite. And if you, I'm sure they're a good builder, but, you know, if you look at it, it's pretty much pretty plain vanilla stuff that they're putting up, right? Which is not necessarily Long Grove, and that's the word.
Here's one additional thing for that, that is new. We just approved, you know, to the extent that we get the quarter on the Route 53 area, is this not abutting that? Do they, we never made them
Little bit.
connect pathways.
Little bit.
So could there be a thought about that plan? Is there a possibility of linking pathways to a corridor when that materializes? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I mean,
I thought that Karen's Corner and.
The Karen-
We made them connect to each other, but
Right.
not to the Route 53 corridor.
yeah,
They're in it, they're on it.
No,
Karen's
DeMar-
Corner
DeMar-
actually is, they're not.
DeMar sold that.
Yeah.
So it's adjacent to it.
Well, that's what I meant, you know, it's like, they're right there.
But we would never, we made them connect to each other.
Yes.
Now it would be perhaps useful to have them connect to a greenway.
I understand what you're saying.
So I think it was duly noted, Rita, I think that we're all very concerned about, something that doesn't look like Long Grove, right? So
Yeah.
village staff, be aware, you're all new. And a lot of effort went into approving it a long time ago, only to have, well, it sold off, right, you know? And, that was a disappointment that it never got built, you know?
Right.
It's
Well,
interesting,
and-
it
They
says-
have to come before, don't they have to come before the PCZBA for a revision to the planned
They're gonna
unit
have-
development?
It says that, Helen, yes.
Yeah,
But I'm surprised that the Architectural Control Committee,
I think they asked for it, I don't know who granted it.
This is a little confusing because it says, received recommendation for approval from the AC with the following conditions to ensure strict adherence to the village's anti-monotony standard. First bullet point, 16 elevations with 2 different floor plans. This is presented as if that addresses the issues in and of itself.
but
But I'm
we've
hearing
never
it's
approved,
actually the opposite is true.
we've never approved anything.
So that's a little bit
I mean,
confusing.
anti-monotony from the exterior, yes, that's given, but
Not
if
interior.
if you can only choose, you know, I don't know enough about it, and we're, maybe shouldn't even be discussing it, it's just, I don't wanna lead these people on.
Yeah.
And this builder's doing a lot of fill-in building
Yep,
throughout the suburban area.
I looked at one of their subdivisions, yes, I know, I personally drove out and looked at it, yep,
Yeah, there's one in Hawthorne Woods.
correct, that's what I looked at, yep,
Yeah, on Old McHenry.
Oh,
So,
it's that one.
yep.
well,
That builder.
this is a new builder,
I think
it's
it's,
not the original developer, it's,
so anyways, I think the point was made on that one, just, you know, be concerned, you know, Long Grove's Long Grove, so, yeah. All right, let's keep going.
So those are the highlights I wanted to make. If there's any questions, happy to,
You-
I was just wondering, who is gonna be moving the contents of the barn that has to be moved?
Devoot.
Because I actually talked to David.
Yeah, he wasn't aware of it, you said it the last time.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
was like, he
yeah.
totally dumbfounded about
Right.
the whole thing.
Yeah,
I mean, I ran into him because he came to look around the day we were supposed to meet with him, and we were finishing.
but you said that this guy may not know, yeah, left-handed know it's,
Not necessarily familiar with the minutia.
No, right?
no.
Okay,
So we got it covered, I'm told,
Okay,
so,
got it.
yeah, thank you.
sorry, just worry about it.
I'd like to
Steve-O.
make a comment and tie it in with the planning report. That was so well done, the planning report, and I love the end of it where on most projects, it gives a note as to who needs to respond next. And that, I think, is an important thing that we sometimes forget, who's on first. And I'd really like to see Jeff kind of he does it frequently, but clearer on whose turn is it. Does that
Yep,
make
good,
sense?
great. Yeah, great point, nope, great point, yep.
Who's got the ball?
Who's got the ball? There you go. Nicely
There,
said, Ken.
yeah. Yeah, but it was done in the planning report and it's a nice addition.
Excellent. All right, speed bumps, yeah.
Okay, so, the village received an email from a resident on Pheasant Run, asking if the temporary speed tables would be reinstalled on Checker Road. And that came in the end of February, and I know that was the transition between when Art was leaving, Chris was coming, and, Rita asked me about that earlier this afternoon, and I hadn't had a chance to talk to Chris about it. I don't know if, you even know what we're talking about on that, but, the speed tables, if you remember, they were put in, fall of '22, and then taken out for the winter, and then they were reinstalled last year for a period of 4 months, taken out for the winter, and now the request had been made by the resident to put those back in. So I hadn't had a conversation with Chris or anybody else, any other village staff on that matter, but I don't know what the thought on that is. If you want to talk about it a little bit tonight, you can do so. Because I know that they were intended to be temporary to address the cut-throughs with the volume and the speed. They were there for the test and then temporary, but the reinstallation continues to be a request from at least that resident.
Well, right, and we took them out because of winter, snow plows and whatever. So, you know, we can put permanent ones in and give the speed tables to your subdivision in the meantime.
We'd love it.
Yeah, nothing.
Especially after what happened last week.
That's true, but, you know, we're getting people saying,
Well, we have one person saying we want speed tables back in. You have one person saying, I don't want speed tables in. So the way I see it, we're even. So a question to Jeff, and it was a question I asked before we put the tables in, was how are we going to measure it? What's our metrics? What's the data? How do we gauge success? And I think at your point, your comment, paraphrasing, maybe I'm wrong, your comment was, we're going to wait to see if the residents call and complain or if the number of complaints goes down. To me, that's not a viable engineering, data-driven response. It doesn't tell us anything. I don't know what the data said after we took the speed tables out. Were people going slow over the bumps and then blasting 70 miles an hour again, weren't they?
No, we did have the traffic counts, we had the data. The traffic did slow down when the speed tables were there, and then when we took them out, it went right back to where it was before.
Okay, I don't remember that
Yeah.
data, actually.
Could we do something, because I know, Ann wants to get out of here at 9 o'clock, she's got a 4 AM flight, we have the budget, so can we
4 a.m.
get,
leave my house.
what'd you say?
4 a.m. leave my house.
Oh, 4 AM leave your house. Can we like, get the data back in front of us and discuss it at the next, does that work? Let's do that, and let's table the speed tables for now. And move to the budget, can we do that?
And yeah, and then one other thing is the speed boards, because that's related. Speed boards, speed bumps, they're all trying to resolve the same problem. Yeah,
That'll be on the next meeting as well.
okay, good.
Thank you, all right. Budget.
I did lots of talking last time, but the real open items right now are really more Chris and Jeff.
Jeff, do you want to start? Big one is the Lake Michigan one.
I just wanted to go through the just real quick.
All right.
We can pass it around, map for discussion.
It's good.
Perfect.
So good to know.
Oh, do you have access to this somehow?
Probably,
Can you send it, you could put it on?
I'm not connected to anything right now, the internet's not. Well, you know, I'm just gonna talk through this from a high level.
What if you put a Google Maps up on the screen?
Yeah, but I don't know if
I mean, it's just kind of a picture, just to kind of, you know, remind everybody what we were talking about. But let's, go through it, and I can send it to Bobby separately.
Originally, this was the backup.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure, so go ahead, just keep going. I'm trying to figure out can you see that at all, anyone online?
Probably not very well.
I can see it, but I have no idea what it is.
Can you see what I'm showing up there?
So,
We can see it.
I'll provide some narration. So I handed out an exhibit, showing what the village had, presented to Congresswoman Schakowsky for, community project funding. The project, had two components. One was a primary water connection, to the existing water main at Thompson and Arlington Heights Road owned by the village of Buffalo Grove. And from there, the water main extension would go north, in the Arlington Heights Road right-of-way, then turn west and go through the property formerly owned by the Jenkins, 5119 Arlington Heights Road, and then connect into the existing water treatment plant well house behind and south of Sunset Foods. So that was the primary component of the project. There was also a secondary emergency connection along Route 83 that connected in front of the Waterford Point Professional Building, and then connected to the existing village water main at what would be the southwest corner of the South 15.
Hey, Jeff, can you describe what the red versus the blue means?
So the red is both of those water connections. The one on Arlington Heights Road is the...
Oops, we lost it. Okay. That didn't work.
The red is what we're asking
Yep.
to buy, what we need $3 million for.
There's two reds though, right?
Yes.
Top one primary, the bottom one.
I see where they are. That's a Gans house.
Yep, that's north of me. Looks
Yep.
like you're gonna go past my driveway again.
Okay, so that's where we need to spend, how much money?
Okay, so the initial request to Congresswoman Schakowsky's office was $2.955 million for
Okay.
those two connections, all in, both construction and soft cost, engineering, design, and construction oversight. That number was divided into, and I'm going to round for tonight for discussion purposes, $1.85 million for the primary connection, which is on Arlington Heights Road, and $1.1 million for the connection, the emergency connection along Route 83. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So the primary connection was conceptualized to provide water into the village's water reservoir to provide fire flows to the village municipal water system. So right now, the village water system reservoir has a capacity of 132,000 gallons when full, and I think most of the board remembers during the pandemic when this contractor inadvertently knocked a fitting off of the water main, that reservoir was emptied and the entire system was emptied in about 5 to 10 minutes.
Or the fire department kept pumping water out of it, put a fire out with the house that burned down.
On Cuba Road.
Cuba Road, yeah.
Correct.
Yes.
So, yeah, this both have happened.
Yep.
So, that's one of the primary drivers of the project. The emergency connection is conceptualized and has been discussed, in the event there's a, outage at the water treatment plant, there's an issue with the supply on Arlington Heights Road to the water treatment plant. Is there another source, that the village's municipal water system can be fed? Standard practice is to have 2 points of, feeding a system, so you got a redundancy built into it. And that's exactly what it is. It's a redundancy. Right now, the village has water coming from the two wells that are at the water treatment plant. The primary connection will provide that same single source. So, I'd mentioned that the 8-inch secondary emergency connection is just that. It's secondary, it's emergency, and is a wish list thing that could be done later. And I say that in light of the federal budget being approved to not award the village the 80% of the $2.9 million, just under $1 million was in the federal budget. So, how does that how can the numbers be broken down to make a manageable project. So we did a couple things here. It was $2.9 million to do that. We reviewed, and we're starting to look in a little bit more granular detail about the routing of the water connection, specifically on Arlington Heights Road. Before it was high level, now we're just kind of bringing it down a little bit. And typically, as that happens, the numbers become fine-tuned and down a little bit, and that's what we're seeing. We took a look at the numbers, and now with current construction costs, we're looking at about $2.6 million for the whole project. More granular would be $1.75 million instead of 1.8. So it's coming down a little bit for the 16-inch water connection, the primary connection, if you will, on Arlington Heights Road, and then $850,000 for the secondary connection. So that's the numbers for the Lake Michigan water connection project to Buffalo Grove. A couple of other things to consider in the discussion are the county's pretreatment ordinance, which they passed that in 2019, and they're requiring those that discharge radium into the sanitary sewers that are owned and maintained by the county to filter and, for lack of a better term, take care of the radium on their own. We looked at what would be required for Long Grove to comply with that ordinance, and the initial costs of that are going to include a very expensive treatment system, which is $350,000, and then also the water treatment plant right now is pretty full with all the equipment that it has, so it would need to be expanded, with a building addition to put this in. So that would be another $150,000. So to comply with the county's pretreatment ordinance, should the radium need to be treated out of there, is $500,000. I say it that way because the radium is naturally occurring in the groundwater. So it's coming out of the deep wells at the water treatment plant. Should the village connect to the Buffalo Grove water system, that's already taken care of, upstream, Evanston, things like that. So the village does not have to grapple with that pretreatment ordinance. It's already taken care of. So
is that confirmed in any of our agreements that they will comply with the Lake County?
Oh, it already is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm just.
I mean, we could, but it's already
So we're buying the same,
out of there, yeah, because.
It seems like we should put that in writing.
Correct, yeah, no, good point.
we're buying the same water from Buffalo Grove that they supply to their residents.
Right, no, I believe that.
You just want it, documented.
Yeah.
That's fine.
No, it's a good point.
There's also a $10,000 a month,
Yeah, so,
pay to Lake County for the.
so, disposing the radium, is becoming expensive. That's a cost that's gonna occur monthly. And, Chris and I talked earlier today, that's going to be very costly. The amount of radium that would need to be disposed of, we don't know yet because the county has never separated that into, Long Grove's contributing this user's this user's that. We don't know, but that's going to be an expensive, monthly cost to grapple with.
That we can eliminate if we buy Lake Michigan water?
Correct.
Yeah.
Previous discussions going back, right now, Long Grove has a treatment water plant, which, the water comes out of the ground, the village goes through a lot of effort to treat that for hardness, put chlorine into it, put salt and all of those things into it to make it, EPA compliant, let's call it, to deliver to the users. There's a couple things with that. One, that requires a very specialized water treatment plant operator to monitor the system reporting required by the IEPA. That's a Class B operator. If Long Grove connects to Lake Michigan water, the plant becomes a distribution plant. And that requires a lesser license, if you will, which is Class C. So there'd be some potential savings there.
You know,
So
you know what that is?
with the water operator, that I don't know.
100 grand, 75 grand a year?
It's probably not 100 grand, maybe 50.
50, okay, let's go with.
Yeah.
Let's roll this with, when we moved to Greenville Hamilton, remember that?
Yep, no, I do, I'm asking the question just to refresh our memory, yeah.
The one that I was leading into that I got more of a handle on is right now with the Class B water treatment plant, the village has about $1,000, $1,200 a month in chemical costs.
Okay.
Salt, sand filters, I'm sorry, what was the number? $1,200 a month? And the chemical costs required to operate a treatment plant would be only a residual chlorine drop. So 95% of those chemical costs would go away with the Lake Michigan water connection. So there's a lot of different things that factor into the cost, not only just the $1.75 million, to make this connection. There's also costs that the village would not incur should that connection be made.
If we're gonna be studying, the speed bumps, I think we should be entitled to study the water issue. I've got probably 10 questions, but I think I need answers, but I think our residents need answers too. And lay out, if we do this, it's this, if we do that, it's that. These are the costs we incur regardless of what we do. This is what the new costs would be, and all of that. What's the maximum user area? I know that's not the right term. How many businesses and residents can be tapped into Lake Michigan water? And so I hear about a whole lot of expenses that I hadn't thought of. It never occurred to me that we would have to expand the well house. And now that's being added in. So could we spend some time? We might even have a what do you call those meetings?
Yeah, workshop, but hey, Bobby though, he's saying that if we're gonna stay with our well water, we're gonna have to spend about $500,000.
I know, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, got it, okay.
Give me a justification.
Yeah, but let me just give you real quick right here. If we stay with
No,
well water.
for the residents and the village needs to know this.
Yeah,
In
I'm saying
writing. When somebody says something's not gonna cost something, I'm skeptical. I like to see it in writing.
Okay, I'm just gonna give a 30-second summary. So if we stay with the current system, we
I
have
know
to spend
this.
$500,000 for
I know
radium
this.
mitigation.
He would
And-
like, he'd like to summarize.
Yeah, I'm just summarizing.
Do we have to maintain, storage?
Yes, because the
Is that
water
priced
comes
in?
depressurized and it needs to be pumped from that reservoir in there. Yep.
So $500,000 for the radium mitigation, about $10K a month to dispose of the radium, that's about $120,000 a year. Okay?
So.
On the other hand, if
With
we
the
go to Lake.
storage, do we have to have an additional facility? And can we commingle well water with lake water?
No, you cannot.
Never.
Well, of course
Never.
we can't.
Really?
So I'm trying to make a point here, so let me just make it, and I'd like to do it all in one. But Bobby, did you finish your statement by any chance? I know what you want, right, but did you finish?
I want facts and figures.
Okay. And Kent wants just to say a few words and Kent.
He wants me to hear him again. Okay.
So, in summary,
Go
if we
for
stay
it.
with what we have to spend $500,000 for radium mitigation and an ongoing $10K a month. Now, if we go to lake water, What it's gonna cost us is about $800,000. The difference between the cost of this one pipe compared with what we're getting for the grant. So it's $800,000 out of pocket. So keep that number in mind, 800,000. On the other hand, if we stick with the current system, 500,000 plus 10K a month. With that alone, after 2.5 years of the current system, we will have spent what we will spend for lake water, but the expenses will keep on going beyond that. And that doesn't even look at the cost savings of not having to do all of the, you know, the filtering and the treating and all that, nor does that even look at the cost savings of going with Class C instead of Class B. So the break even is probably closer to 2 years, not 2.5.
I think there's also an opportunity to attract more users, which either way this system needs, but we would have a more compelling offering with Lake Michigan Water.
Let me just remind you, and you may not know it, is that I was chairman of the Water Commission when Buffalo Grove got Lake Michigan Water.
Oh.
Do we have
Just a little
any,
goodie.
do we have any idea of what the charge would be for Lake Michigan Water to the end user and the cost per gallon or charge? I guess the charge is more important than the cost per gallon.
The same charging their residents, which
But not
currently is.
necessarily.
We would pay the same rate that Buffalo Grove is charging their residents on a per unit basis, but you would determine the rate that we would charge the users on our system.
Was that clear? I thought it was we'd buy it at wholesale. So we're,
Are we buying retail or wholesale?
yeah, I thought we bought it at wholesale. I mean, the thing is that we're a benefit to them. It was interesting, because we met with the village several years ago. When this concept came up. It's because of all the water conservation, they're having a problem having enough users, you know, selling enough water to maintain the system.
It's regionally happening for all, yeah.
Yeah, because all the water, you know, people are using, you know, wasting water left and right. Now they're not, and they're conserving. So these water systems, you know, we're actually like a contra expense to them, right? We're a benefit. So to having us on as a user is good for them. So the question is, you know, and you have to revisit it, right?
Part of the IGA.
There was an IGA that was, you know, sent to us a while ago.
Yeah.
It all has to be revisited, you know, so.
But is that, I understand that was verbalized, is,
No, we don't have anything in writing right now, yeah.
if we reach a point where there's a water shortage, for whatever reason, global warming, whatever, is this, is it guaranteed that you know, into infinity, we pay the same as what the Buffalo Grove residents would pay?
Oh, absolutely not. I don't know what I don't remember what was in the contract. Vic, you probably took a look at it. I didn't.
I don't know if we can member or if we do
Those are all the
We're not
details.
paying.
What'd you say?
The contract does have our rate pegged to the Buffalo Grove user rate. So even if, for example, the cost of water goes way up from Evanston or whoever the new supplier might be of the Northwest Water Commission, our rates are still going to be pegged to what Buffalo Grove charges its users.
Thank you.
But we use our allocation.
Right, I understand.
But Vic, does that get lawyer weaseled and, you say our users up to X number of house equivalents get this rate, but users who are over X number of house equivalents
we
get a different rate?
don't get the over. We have an allocation that we're granted through the state, and we're able to use that under this under the draft contract. And the water we draw, we will be paying based on a peg rate. And I can't remember if it's 95% or something like that of what the Buffalo Grove users pay. So that if Buffalo Grove increases their user rates to their people, then that's going to impact what we pay Buffalo Grove. But it's still going to stay on parity. We only get to go up to our allocation. We can't go over that. If we do, they can stop serving beyond the allocation.
Do we have to guarantee a quantity?
We don't have a put requirement, no.
And I don't have the numbers in front of me, but as I recall, we're using, Jeff, what, like 5% of our current allocation? It's some tiny number.
Yeah,
The
village,
allocation we're using now is through the Heron's Landing project, and that's
I
because,
oh, I mean, if you look at the amount of water we're using on our water system compared to our
Oh, okay.
allocation, I think that's some single number percentage of our allocation.
right, yeah, the village right now pumps about 23 to 25,000 gallons a day, and the allocation, if I remember right, was 0.3 million gallons a day. So,
We have lots of allocation. There's a lot of details here, right, that have to be hashed out, right? So many, a workshop is really appropriate. However, let me ask this question, because, we're getting out how many thousand dollars? $957,000. So the question is, we don't know yet when that will come, right? And so the timing of all this could go over a couple fiscal years, correct? It may not happen all in one fiscal year. So we're talking about a budget here. I'm trying to bring it back to the budget. What we're trying to figure out is, do we earmark money for this year or next year, whatever, to do this, right? And I don't know what needs to be done to receive the grant. We don't even know any of that stuff yet, right? So how do we plan for it in our budget that's due next month?
I think I would put it in the budget.
So the grant is tied to the construction costs of the project, I believe, right, Jeff? So what we'd be looking for, and it would be important to put in the budget here, is the soft cost, the engineering, to get all the pre-work done in next year's fiscal budget, so that we're ready to launch construction as soon as we can, which ideally would be in the winter, when we think we might get the funding by Q3. But it's the federal government, so.
Yeah, so then it's just, do we split 2 fiscal years on this project to make it all work too? That's the question.
I don't know if we need to yet at this point.
Okay.
Right, what is in front of us here, basically has that tag in there. It says that the general fund would run a deficit on its revenues versus expenses with a transfer to the capital budget. So we would transfer, most of our money right now is in the general fund reserves. Remember that? We're very over-reserved because we're looking at these. Okay, making a transfer from the general fund to the infrastructure capital fund to be able to handle a connection to Lake Michigan water, that's the amount that's in there. Would say that for current year, our general fund would have less revenues than expenses. We would dip into those considerable reserves, roughly $300,000. So it would say the budget, the one that Chris and Dana handed out, shows the general fund right now dipping into reserves of about $300,000, which is well within that cushion.
Can I ask a question? Which option are you proposing? The old solution or just the one link?
Just the one link, and we
Okay.
could utilize the current wells as a backup if needed. Kind of temporarily, I think ultimately we want to get both connections in, but that doesn't need to be in the next couple of years. We can save for that and plan it out. We're not really at too much risk because that main connection is going to be brand new and the useful life is 75 years, and that's our only risk of having an outage. If Buffalo Grove's Lake Michigan water goes out, they also have backup wells that can adequately supply our system as well.
So the important thing to keep in mind is the supply of water already has a backup through Buffalo Grove. The second pipe is only a backup to the main pipe in case something happens to that pipe. Keep in mind it's brand new. The odds of something happening to that are minimal, very minimal.
But that doesn't, putting it in the budget does not preclude us from answering all the questions Bobby poses and putting in a side-by-side just so we have it documented of like, okay, here's A versus B. I am very much in favor of Lake Michigan water, but I agree, I think we should have that side-by-side to some level of
Yeah.
detail, not.
And if there's consent from the board to move on with this, we'll engage Buffalo Grove with the IGA and start hashing out the costs and the details on it, but we didn't want to jump the gun on that.
Yeah, I would propose putting it in the budget for that primary, not the secondary backup.
Yeah, I'm not following the sheet though. I don't know how it flows through the budget, so just.
Oh, that sheet.
So the general fund, right now we.
And Bobby probably doesn't even have this, right?
We have,
It's not electronic.
It's in the materials on the drive. But right now, the general fund has all the normal operating expenses plus a $1.6 million transfer to the infrastructure fund, $800,000 to cover the village hall expansion, which is the net of the ARPA funds, plus the necessary additional dollars on top of that, plus $800,000 to have our costs outside of the federal grant, the one connection for Lake Michigan Water.
If I can put it in a different way, we have current reserves of at 1 year's expense plus one other year. We want that one other year is over $3 million. We are proposing taking 1.6 of that.
Oh, of the extra 3 million?
Yeah,
Okay,
and
got it.
actually, we've got additional revenues forecast also, so we only need to dip into it by 300,000.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I kept hearing that you were gonna dip into our, reserve account, which is, 100% of the, our operating expenses, and I didn't understand that because we had so much extra money in the
We're
bank,
dipping
right?
into the excess.
Okay, that makes sense, and we should.
Yep.
We
That
should
was
be
why we
using it.
built it.
Correct, yeah, okay.
We're conservative on our shared revenues for the year, so those could come in higher and we could, net out.
So on this one page, or where it says over under on the general fund, negative 299, that
Yeah.
says we're using 300,000, 299,000 of the excess reserves.
I see, okay.
That would drop that number.
Okay, got it.
I think Bobby's right, we got a lot of questions. My question is, and I've got a lot of questions too, but like, we're all business people, right? So do we have a plan as to how we build out the water system to the other potential users? Like max capability, if we take our 12-inch pipe and people are actually connecting to it, do we have a plan that says which residents, which neighborhoods, which communities actually can connect reasonably? And also what those projected costs are gonna be? Because it's one thing to say, hey, three lakes, or lakes, three lakes. You guys can connect, but oh, by the way, it's gonna cost you, pick a number, $50,000 ounce to do it. Is anybody gonna do that? And for us up north, who will never utilize any direct benefit from this, are we planning on amortizing the cost of this into the water rates? Have we thought through how we're gonna project or put together the business model for what the rates are gonna be to the customers who are currently on the system and those that are going to be added into it? And when we do that, what does that revenue model look like? I mean, the water system's a loser, we all know that. So here we are, we're gonna pump more money into a loser system, and it's not clear to me, besides the radon, it's not clear to me what the benefit is. What if we walked away from the water system?
We can't.
We can't walk away from it because of what?
You tell me, but I don't think we can.
Because, that's why I'm saying Bobby's right.
This was a one-way street that got set up before we got here.
Well, I know it's set up, but what if we walk away from it somehow? What if we do something different? I'm just thinking about the rate for water. I mean, I told you guys this before. I've got a place in the middle of the freaking desert. I get water for 4 cents a gallon trucked in, right? And it's right out of this Scottsdale spigot, fully chlorinated, fully whatever. It's 4 cents a gallon. So at what point is too much money into the system not making business sense to the users anymore? And I'm just wanting to have that understanding of, okay, look, we got a 12-inch pipe. Who's it going to feed? Who's going to sign on to it? How many homes are we going to service? What's our max capacity of it? How far can that system reach, and what's that cost? So it's easy to say, we're gonna sign on more users because we've got Lake Michigan water. I get that, I love Lake Michigan water. But I'm not running a pipe up on Diamond Lake Road, it's not happening.
I get that also,
So how do we justify it all? Like, if I'm a resident up north who will never directly benefit from this, how do I justify the expenditure? To me, I'm looking at $3 million going, holy crap, you know how many truckloads of fresh water I could haul in and fill somebody's tank over here? Or fill your cistern, right?
I'm gonna be exiting,
Yeah, we're gonna probably.
That would require a lot of additional, it's
Right.
very easy to also say we should look at this, but we're also then gonna have to hire like a water engineer to figure out a plan to answer a lot of those questions.
Well, that's what I'm saying,
That's my
so why
thought.
spend the money before we understand a little bit of that? I'd rather spend some money on the investigation work so that we can go to the resident and say, look, we've got a real plan and this makes sense. But how do I explain it to somebody who lives up in Diamond Lake Road, go, I'm gonna spend $3 million of total money and we're not really sure who's gonna use the water?
on the assumption that we're not closing the water plant, it will cost less to get Lake Michigan water than to maintain the current system. That break even is in about the 2 or
Under
2.5
the
years.
assumption somebody's spending an additional $2 million minus the $500.
No, on the assumption that we keep being a water operator.
Right.
Okay, that's a fair assumption too. Do we wanna keep being a water operator, or do we just go, hey, look, we tried, it's not working, people aren't jumping into the Long Road water system. We force the the business owners or the landowners downtown to connect up. At what point do we go, you know what, maybe we shouldn't be in the water business?
So I'm gonna use the term glass half full.
Okay.
So appropriate here. I don't know that it was all bad that we connected the downtown to the water system.
Sure.
It brought a brewery, it's good for the restaurants, and there's other businesses coming in, right? So there are a lot of options, like, for example, we could sell the system or outsource it to Buffalo Grove and let them run the whole damn thing if we want. We don't think that was the right thing, but to your point, there's a lot of options that we could do. And, we may not be ready today to decide on this, but we got this grant
I understand.
that covers a big chunk of it, and there's a fire station that might be able to connect to it as well, and there's some other things that it may make sense. So it's the end of the night here, it's 9 o'clock already, we're gonna lose Ann. I don't know if this is a spot to stop tonight.
You don't need me to.
Can we do one thing before we go?
Yes,
And that
yes.
is make a date certain when we're going to have all the, not all the information, but the beginning of the information on this, on Lake Michigan water. Because having done what I've done with water, I can tell you the most dangerous thing is what it's going to cost. And,
Yep.
and if we're stuck with just downtown, where other people can make the decision, nah, that's too rich for my blood, then we're gonna have a problem. So let's get some of these things out so that people know them and we know them. But
We
whether
know
it's
them.
3 months, 4 months, I don't know what the time fits with, I think we go forward with the budget, but the rest of the nitty gritty, we need to get working on it.
Yeah, everyone's nodding their head there, in the room.
I think you need to factor in that at some point, there's a high likelihood the government will force water operators to get rid of radium, period.
Yeah, we're gonna be forced to do, yeah.
Well, we didn't even add in $200,000 cost to replace the pumps and.
Yeah.
Did that once already.
We did that once, but, okay, so jack the rates up to the users to, amortize that into the rates. We've got a losing water system. And we continue to lose. We're trying to find a losing system. So who's got the plan to fix it?
On the theory that,
Chris?
on the theory that we
Bobby?
continue to, elevate this, and
Right.
you know, on that theory, our biggest problem is users. Because we have all this fixed infrastructure with all these converters.
Understood.
I know we'll never go up Diamond Lake Road.
I'm just saying.
We have
you know,
3 acre
get it.
zoning here, so it's these distances, it's hard to do that.
Right, so if I'm a taxpayer come April 15th, what do I want to be lobbying Jan Schakowsky's office for? To give Long Grove money to spend $3 million on a system that's going to continue to lose money, or use that $3 million to rebuild a bridge somewhere in Baltimore?
Let's not go there now, but.
Right, you know what I'm saying? I just think, I'm a taxpayer on April 15th, I'm taxed to death, I hate it. What do I want to tell her office? Pump $3 million into this losing Long Grove proposition, or what?
I think you're assuming it's losing.
Well, right now we're losing.
I agree right now. it's
And we have
losing.
no plan, or no documents, or no data, or no nothing that shows how we're gonna make money on this thing, or at least break even, which I think is a good place to be.
I think
Yeah, it's a good place to be.
All right, so everyone okay if we stop here? And we have one more item on the agenda, it's just the village
So
president.
we'll get this done in the future. Mañana?
Yeah, yes, Bobby.
Thank you.
No, that's how we lose things, is that we don't make a date certain and then suddenly it's a year later and we haven't done anything.
What's the date that somebody's gonna agree here, village staff, to have this done by? Details.
I mean, I was looking for some kind of guidance on if we were prepared to move forward with wanting to do this, then I can approach.
I don't think I heard anyone say no for sure yet, right? Ken said yes. Bobby, I think, like, you gotta put it in the budget, but you need to have all those, I'm gonna paraphrase you. You gotta have those answers before you can do anything. So it doesn't mean you can't put money in the budget. I don't know that Ann was the same way. She was nodding her head. Chris may be that. So I'm thinking you might have direction unless somebody tells me that I didn't hear it correctly.
I think we have to put it in the budget.
Yeah. Okay.
But I
So, yeah,
also
so I
think
think-
we have to know what we're doing too.
I know.
Agreed, yeah.
More work needs to be done. Okay, I just want to move on. Are we good?
So what's the date?
All right, give us a date.
The end of Q1.
Well, that's, end of,
That's in a week.
It's a few days.
End of the week.
which Q1?
It's a week.
Well, I don't know what exactly.
July
said you want
1st.
all the details on Lake Michigan water.
July 1st. She wants like a pretty good, set of plans, answering a lot of questions, just thinking everything through, the ROI,
Yeah.
what is.
And Chris, I can get together with you on this. This started in 2015. I got the draft report of us looking at the water system. We've looked at 3 lakes, how many users, how much projected flow that would be. That goes back to 2016, 2017. So there's a lot of years of data. A lot of this information has been prepared, but over the years, the discussion has changed. So it's
There might be
freshening it up and bringing it together. I know that a rate study was done a couple of years ago by Baker Tilly, somebody like that. So it's all good information to bring all together in one spot.
That might add cost doing some more of these.
So this is going in your goals, July 1.
Yep.
Did you hear that, Chris?
We can
got it.
always amend it.
Yes. All right.
We'll beat July 1.
The only thing I wanted to do with Vic here, too, is I'm gonna move to my report. I did have the opportunity to meet with Senator McConkey. I talked to him about Route 22 that were stalled, and that we keep getting these intergovernmental agreements for stoplights and stuff, but no one's giving us answers on the landscaping proposal that we had, right? Pathways, right? Meanwhile, the Park District, there's 2 projects. There's the widening of Route 22, from Quinton Road up to where it's already, 4 lanes. Then there's a second project, widening the 8322 intersection. The widening of the 8322 intersection requires some easements from the Park District on their property, which is on the southeast side of 83 and Route 22. Well, the Park District isn't doing anything or even talking to them because there was a parcel of land that we agreed to assign to them that IDOT needs to release, which is by Kent's house at Grove and 83, and the state has been unresponsive for like a year.
Even
So
more than that.
maybe more than that.
4 or 5 years.
So the senators asked me to give him the summary of everything, because we have letters and everything from the state going, nowhere fast, and he was gonna take it to, he said Osman, and I looked up the guy, and I'm like, oh, that's the Secretary of Transportation of IDOT. So, Vic and, Jeff and Dana and Chris, I just need it all put together so we can give it to the senator so that he can go advocate on our behalf to hopefully get some of these things moving, because we're in a logjam right now, and it's not going anywhere. So anyways, that's the only report I wanted to bring to your attention, so.
If you need any background on that mitigation land, I was completely involved in that when I was at the Park District. I'll give you whatever background you need.
So he kinda asked for it, I mean, it's kinda like this week, but whatever, I guess get it when you can, so. I mean, I put a lot of the pieces in an email to you that I had. I just wanna make sure that it's factual and it's all packaged up, right? Because I don't know what conversations I wasn't involved in. I just keep getting these emails, sign this agreement, and I keep passing it off going, what do I do with this? Right? So, thank you. All right, that's my report. Trustee
Yay
Browski?
for you.
Thank you.
Couple of things. So SWALCO have been following two bills, down in Springfield. One is that would require battery manufacturers to, distributors actually, to supply recycling facilities right at their point of sale. So that one, SWALCO's supporting because it would sort of give more options for people to recycle batteries. Second bill is one that is requiring all container manufacturers to label their containers and put a statewide deposit system in place for every container that's sold in the state. SWALCO is opposing that, for a lot of reasons. First of all, it's gonna be expensive, but actually recycling numbers are usually quite high. The problem with recycling is that the recycling market is quite low. So even if you collect all this stuff, what do you do with it if nobody wants to recycle it? So, SWALCO's supporting the battery bill. SWALCO's not supporting the labeling of every container bill, which, you know, every jar you buy would have to be recycled, or would have a deposit on it, essentially, you know. So, that one's pretty onerous. New website is scheduled to launch at the end of the month on the 28th. There was a little blurb in the IML summary that was sent out. I don't know if everybody caught it. It has nothing to do with my report, just a comment. It said IML legislative agenda is to try to get home rule in place automatically for communities under 5,000 people, or up to 5,000, down to 5,000, or the other way around. Automatic home rule if you have more, home rule if you have more than 5,000 residents. So, I don't know if you guys saw that or not.
I did, and thought that was really interesting, and I wondered where the 10,000 minimum, is that still the rule?
So, that was, yeah, I don't know, that was also in the information I gave you from the Lake County Municipal.
Sorry.
Breakfast.
Yeah, it's 25 currently.
It's 25,000 under the Illinois Constitution.
Yeah, interestingly, you know, residents don't usually reach out to me, but they heard we're talking about home rule, and they've reached out to me and said we oppose home rule for Lund Road. So it's kind of unique that people reach out to me with comments. I don't normally get a lot of comments. End of report.
All right, thank you for that report. Trustee O'Connor?
No report.
Trustee O'Reilly?
No,
You want to talk about the movie? You're going to be an extra in it this week?
I'm waiting for the ferry show.
There you go. All right. Trustee Tanucci?
No report.
Okay, village manager report?
No report.
All right, motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved by trustee O'Connor,
Second,
seconded by trustee,
Second, yes.
seconded by trustee O'Reilly. All in favor?
Hi.
Any nays? Meeting adjourned. All right, thank you, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you, bye.
Does this go
The concrete
to
bill.
page, whatever it is?